getting down to the nitty-gritty, which is what old people say about planning these events. Very important to have the objectives, and it sounds pretty self-explanatory, but what is the goal of this meeting or this event? You can use SMART if you want: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-based, or time-bound. Some people say not a bad idea. And again, who's going to be there? It's important. And then you say, sometimes it's a captive audience and sometimes it's not. So what's their reasoning? Why are they going to pick this specific event? Why would they pick this specific event? Site selection, food and beverage. I had said earlier we were talking about cash bars and open bars. Excuse me. Maybe this is a group that doesn't drink. Maybe it is we need to offer a very vast selection of food, or there are a bunch of people with restrictions and things like that. So you need to look at that, how they're going to get there. What's it going to look like? What is the content? We put these events together and you're trying to sell the diversity of the group or the importance of it. Then who's on the agenda? You see those three reasons, and they can exist independently or they can exist together. And a lot of times you'll see them exist together. Networking could just be a byproduct of, hey, I showed up for this meeting, didn't know what to expect, and made a connection and got a job. So it really just kind of depends on, like we said before, purpose. So the needs of the corporation and the association differ. When we talk about exit surveys and trying to figure out stuff, just like any other business, how accurate can we get with knowing who our audience is, right? So that makes sense. If you're going to hold it at a hotel convention center, what is offered, right? We talked about dietary needs already, medical needs, all these different things that go into conducting a needs analysis, just like any other business. We have to really, again, the legwork involved before this ever happens is the thing that becomes the most important, which is to, try to think of everything. If we're going to have guests come in with attendees, just because your company's not paying for your spouse, partner, kids, whoever to come with you doesn't mean they're not. So, and in some cases they do pay, so then it becomes, okay, what is there for them to do, for lack of a better word? If I'm in this meeting for 3 days, pretty much all day and all afternoon, is my family supposed to sit in the hotel room? How far they travel, if you have someone coming in from out of the country, ADA compliance, and the educational outcome expected. They finish this and they receive a certificate, or they take a test, or, whatever the case may be. And if there is some stuff that's tied to it, let's say that you're doing a certification that requires a minimum of 8 hours of classroom training, and you kind of have set the bar with what you need to have happen while they're there. I talked about SMART already. Generate attendance at specific hotels, a program by a certain date, specific attendees conference. Again, we'd love to have our meeting fill up every hotel. Fill up the hotel where it's being hosted, right? Creating a program by a certain date. If you want people to show up, the further out you can have an agenda or curriculum or whatever you want to call it completed, the better off you're going to be. So set your timelines accordingly if you want people to show up. I had said this before. You finish with your event at our hotel in June of 2020. Before you leave, we're like, you want to go ahead and book 2021. If it's an annual meeting, that's what you want to do. So, site selection. The objectives of the meeting will determine the site that you want to use. based on number of guests and what you're trying to accomplish, right? So rotation of location, you've heard me talk in previous reviews about certain events that I've attended. People have rotated the locations for attendance purposes. And again, where are most of the people coming from? Cost of the planner, how they're going to get there, type of hotel and meeting facility. If you're going to have an event at Margaritaville, speaking from someone who's been there quite a bit, great meeting facilities, a lot of stuff for the guests to do when they're not in meetings. But again, is the point of this 3-day or 4-day event for them to have some downtime? It's terrible to say, but a lot of times there's not. So they go, well, how was the resort? Well, honestly, I don't know. I was in meetings all day. You hear that quite a bit. That's probably not what the hotel would like to hear, but, sometimes it's busy. But I guess I would argue, and you would probably argue as well, why have it in a place like that if you're not going to be able to use it? Budget, budget, budget. Who pays? What does it cost? Registration fees, types of food and beverage, additional costs passed on to attendees. Special events that fall outside the day-to-day of the meeting. So if you want to go hear a guest speaker, if you want to go to a mixer at the museum and you want to do cocktails at, wherever it is, that may be on top of the cost for the meeting itself. And you see this quite a bit, which is, okay, you paid $500 to attend this event. Great. Now, if you want to go hear this person speak, it's another $150 on top of that. So you look at the potential revenue streams. Guest speakers are coming in, usually not for free, right? So again, financial goals, like we said, break even, profit, or deficit. You want to profit. You don't want to break even, right? And you definitely don't want to lose money. So looking at all of that, like, it's not this random thing where we take a dart, throw it at a dartboard and go, okay, $150 a person to cover all the cost of everything involved, okay, to have the content of the event that we want to have, and have everybody leaving feeling like this was worth their time. What does that mean? Those are all things you need to look at. And like we said, all these costs, you've heard indirect, you've heard fixed, you've heard variable, you've heard of all this stuff before. We're just now talking about the same things but with meetings. So, I'd mentioned before, any kind of funding and sponsorships that we can get would be great. Logo, merchandise, anything. I mentioned gift bags and stuff we throw away, but there's also a lot of stuff in gift bags. Hey, everybody gets a recyclable grocery bag with a logo on it. I've been to a bunch of events where I get those things. And, it's nice. They're paying to put their logo out there, but they're also paying for what? To help us cover the cost of our event. So it's a good thing. Program training. Again, what is it? What's the content going to be? Session scheduling. It's a lot in 3 days if you want to have breakout sessions for departments or areas of interest or, training. Where's that going to be? From what time to what time? When is the speaker going to be here? You don't want people having overlapping things that they want to do that they can't do because they're at the same time. Sometimes you can't avoid that, but as much as you can, you want to try to avoid that. Bathroom breaks, refreshment breaks, meals, other events that go on, how you do this evaluation. Some people look for constant evaluation actually during the events. A lot of new events look for feedback as the events are happening and may have either technology outlets there for people to say, are people standing around going, hey, can you tell us what you think of this event so far so that we can improve it while it's happening? A lot of times it's tough to do, but if it's a dramatic thing, you may have to think on the fly and do that. We talked about these before, again, the nature of what they're going to be. So a lot of events I've gone that have breakout sessions or workout sessions or specialty sessions for different groups. Where do those occur? How long do they occur? Where do they fall in the overall scheme of the entire event? That's important. Placement, if you will. Like we said, develop the objectives early. Write the session descriptions. Very, very key. if you're going to walk into the Monarch room at 11 o'clock for training, this is what is going to happen at 11 o'clock. From 11 to 12:30, this is what's going on. Now, within that specific event, you could have a separate session description, but for someone who's looking online, because remember, we're trying to avoid paper, we want to say, okay, if you haven't been here before, if you're not sure what you're looking for, if you're coming here at this time, this is what you can expect. Talked about double booking already. Sufficient time. Not too much time. I'd say 10 minutes. Make a phone call, check your emails, go to the bathroom, next session. Some people use 5. Any longer than that, you risk what? You risk people leaving. So, you want to keep it on a consistent basis and keep it as uniform as you possibly can, if at all possible. Registration fees, pre-registration on-site. You don't want to stand in line with a bunch of people when you get there. Then don't. Have a pre-registration option, somewhere you can walk up to a separate table and say, hey, my name is Mr. Ward, I pre-registered. Oh yeah, Mr. Ward, here's your bag, show's over here, enjoy your time, everything's online, you have the app downloaded, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And the different types of housing that can occur, and it just is what the conference wants to do. So a lot of times, we're hosting this event in Phoenix, and it's going to be at this property. And here are the rates at this property, and here are some rates at surrounding properties. But understand that it's in Phoenix, understand that it's in July, and understand that it's here. So that tells me what? That tells me my best bet in the summer in Arizona would be to stay where it's being held. So what? So I don't have to go outside. So, it makes sense. Like we said, providing breaks. We want to keep you there if we ever can, fostering connections through receptions, through refreshments, cocktail receptions. Yes, again, you don't want to show up for your employee event and be the one that's that guy, so don't. Speaker arrangements, all these things that you're looking at, important. Because in a lot of cases for these events, it's a major draw and a major selling point for the event itself to hear that, the former Vice President of the United States, the former Secretary of Defense, the former head of this record company. Well, I want to go. I want to hear this person talk. I think it's going to be a fascinating topic. So get as much information as you can. And if there is going to be a dress code, make sure that they know it up front. Don't embarrass the guest, right? The attendees. Volunteer speakers is great. They know what they're talking about. So I attended an event recently where we had some political figures and we had some volunteer speakers, and they were fantastic and they were great. As a matter of fact, I think even the political figures were volunteering for this particular cause, which was fantastic, and everyone had a wealth of knowledge. You just have to be careful, right? Because I know something about a topic doesn't mean I'm a great speaker. And personal agendas we don't want. If you want facts, let's get facts. Unbiased presentation of facts. Not like, well, it should be, I feel this way, I feel that way. And it's not to say just political. It's just make sure that you are, if you're going to have a viewpoint, have an opposing viewpoint. Panel discussion, for example. AV, like we said, we're getting more and more to the point now where the technology is so good, we usually say, we got you covered, don't worry about it. The cost is a lot. And listen, quite frankly, we want to tell you have to use our equipment. Why? Because we're going to charge you to rent it. And again, email, apps, everything we can do to eliminate paper. And, however you want to directly market or indirectly market, it's always a good idea to have a plan that is target specific. That is making sure you're focusing on the group. And not so much that it's overkill that people are like, oh my God, it's still a month out from this meeting. If I get one more email about it, I'm going to lose it. So, relevant, timely, concise. Honestly, don't want to read a 50-page email about the event either.